To thank you for making Subway footlongs famous, now enjoy any regular footlong as a $5 footlong. That's right, any, including your favorites, like the savory chicken and bacon ranch. Any Subway regular footlong is just $5. Hurry in.
The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects.
First of all,
This is the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
it might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't
The
care.
BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the sports guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The BS Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report, part 2 of what has turned into a gab fest with our old friend Dave Dameshek, not on the Subway Fresh Tech Hotline. He is in studio, and we are talking about goofy sports celebrations.
My head's spinning with the worst celebrations. I thought actually Crosby's celebration was sort of odd, as though he didn't know. It was sort of like, oh yeah, it's over. Like he scored and was happy, and then kind of realized the enormity of as everybody's jumping over the boards to get to him. Like, oh yeah, it's over now. It's over. And then he sort of realizes and really gets into full on celebration.
I think he was just shocked that he had finally made a good play in the Olympics. Oh!
Please listen. Yeah, he
disappeared.
Listen,
Sid the Kid.
10 months ago, he had the cup up over his head. Your words ring hollow to me.
Yeah, but he didn't play in the third period of that game.
Yeah, that's right.
You would have had a lot of questions.
It.
You would have been in a dark place if USA wins that in OT.
You're so right. Yeah, that's right.
You never told us what happened when Sid the Kid scored. Did you celebrate?
The first thing I thought of was unbelievable. I felt like a spoiled as a hockey fan, a team that's rooted for the Penguins. I feel really spoiled that you're thinking like, yeah, if the U.S. wins, that's cool. Either way, if Canada wins, even just objectively, it'll be nice for that country. How excited they'll be and how relieved they'll be and everything. And then when Crosby scores, you just think, I cannot believe that. The guy who I root for just wins in overtime. You know, like whatever that is, 23 years removed from 66 winning the Canada Cup.
Yeah.
Really, in the...
Although the difference was that there was time remaining when he scored that goal.
There was a
minute
left,
yeah.
and then they scored another goal. But that, by the way, you want to talk about if you suddenly find yourself interested in puck after watching these Olympics, if you can find those Canada Cup games, those 1987, it's a best of 3. All 3 games are 6-5 finals.
You're talking to somebody who pushed hard for that to be a 30 for 30.
Is that right?
Yeah, and I didn't have the votes.
Every game is unbelievable. All 3 of those games, all 6-5 gems.
Just having Lemieux and Gretzky in the same team, Lemieux climbing to the peak of his powers, but Gretzky already there. Is there another example in sports history of that?
Willie Mays and Babe Ruth playing on the same team somewhere. Right.
People would say, well, the 92 Dream Team, but Bird was done. I mean, Bird was playing with a 15-pound back brace.
And those aren't the 2 best players, or at least the 2,
if you had 86 Bird playing with 92 Jordan, I think you could say, yeah, that was comparable, but not 92 Bird and not 92 post-HIV Magic that hadn't played for 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think there's ever been another. And then the fact that they were on the same line. Mm-hmm. Right?
Well, they're playing together. Gretzky gets a little too much credit for because Lemieux is too much of a gentleman and too soft-spoken to correct anyone when people say, this is 1987. Lemieux wasn't new to the league. He was he was better than Gretzky at that point, just in his circumstance. The team.
He wasn't. You can't say that.
I don't want to start this.
You can't say that.
I really don't want to get into this conversation.
I've already done all the research on this from the last time we argued about it.
If you really want to do it properly,
Gretzky should have won 9 straight MVPs. Lemieux stopped him the one time.
Are you out of your mind?
Gretzky should have gone 9 for 9.
Gretzky stole Hart trophies from Lemieux, not the other way around. The
year Lemieux won the MVP, they were. I don't even think they were like a top 8 team.
Listen, when Lemieux
were they?
Listen, when 66,
were they a top 8 team when he won the MVP?
I won the MVP, won 3 at least. Listen,
I mean, it's the first time I'm saying.
Let me tell you something.
He won the scoring title. That's enough. Take your scoring title,
in 1989. He has 199 points, And Gretzky gets it because he made hockey more popular in Southern California.
Well, he was playing on like the D-League team, basically.
No, he was not. Listen, the
that
idea...
Kings team was terrible.
That is ridiculous.
It
the
was.
idea
It
that
was
Bernie
terrible.
Nichols scored more goals, as though Bernie Nichols was just a piece of garbage before Gretzky got there, is ludicrous.
You're crazy.
I don't want to get it. If you want to do this properly, let's set up podiums, and we'll have to have a judge of some sort, because I'm not going to get into this with you. If you want to get into it, and we want to do it the right way,
in 87,
we're going to
Wayne
need
Gretzky
6
was
to 8
better
hours to do this.
Wayne Gretzky was better than Mario Lemieux in 1987. Lemieux was the young, up-and-coming, I'm going to be better than you.
No.
But Gretzky was better.
No.
Gretzky was the entire league.
Here's one of the best points I can make about that should help a little bit debunk Gretzky and how essential he was, and how and by the way, obviously he's one of the top 3 or 4 players of all time, but it's a little overstated. Because how great was Gretzky? How essential was he to those Oilers teams?
They won in 88, I know.
They win the Stanley Cup after he leaves.
But what did they get for him, though? They got like a mother load for him in 88.
There would be no haul that you could get for 66 Lemieux that would return the Penguins to the Stanley Cup Finals. But listen.
How about Lemieux's team in the early 90s? Like, they arguably should have won 5, 6, 7 straight.
They should have at least gotten to the
Bruins would have beaten them if Alfie didn't take out Cam's knee in Game 3.
That's another
cheap
one.
shot. We're up 2-0.
That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. We're up 2-0, and your defenseman
I find it hard to
knee hit at mid-ice.
I think it's crazy that reasonably rational people who are involved in hockey,
that's not accurate.
Cam Neely and Mike Milbury and guys like that say, like, yeah, that was a cheap shot. Watch the play.
Yeah, I have watched it.
It is so bang bang. It is so. There's no way.
He sticks his left knee a tiny bit out to go knee to knee.
Listen, he's
he
trying to.
He was famous for it. That's why people used to fight him all the time.
All right. Well, listen.
How dare you defend Alf Samuelson?
I want to say this. I'm trying to think of the worst sports championship celebrations. One of them is in 1980 when the Phillies win it. It's a cool story. Tug McGraw strikes out. I don't remember who was at the plate there. That's a shame. I can't think of who was at the plate for the Royals. But he strikes him out. And Bob Boone, the great thing, the catcher comes out and jumps on the pitcher after the third strike. But Tug McGraw doesn't go towards Bob Boone. He just stands there and looks over at third base. And you're like, what's going on here? But I guess Mike Schmidt said, don't celebrate until I get to you. And I guess that's the backstory of that. But the visual of it was like, how lame is that? That looks weird.
Wait a
They're
second.
Just standing there.
Are we making golfers eligible for the worst celebrations in sports?
Oh, I think we have to. Right?
I feel like they have to almost be ineligible. It's not fair. There's been too many horrible ones. Like, think of all the Tiger Woods high fives that were.
Yeah, Phil Mickelson when he wins one and he does that like 2 fists in the air and his bosoms are on display. There, he was at the height of
Larry
his
Mize had the best one in the 87 Masters.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Yep.
He sunk like the 50-footer, and then he did like the run. That was a good one.
Yeah, Hale Irwin doing the lap and high-fiving everybody on that one.
What'd you think of Papelbon in 07?
The coolest one, actually, golf one, was when Tiger makes the hole-in-one in Phoenix.
Oh, yeah.
And so, that was it. That was right in the middle of when you, the man, as soon as the club head strikes the ball, the entire crowd.
No, there was one
wild.
cooler one than that, though. When he won the Masters a couple years ago, it's an awesome YouTube clip. When he made the putt on Amen's corner on the par, I think it was the par 3, where you have to putt it uphill and then it comes back down.
Oh, no, you're talking about number 16.
Number 16.
Par 3.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, that was good.
He had to put it up, and it was like, it's going to be close.
I think that was the PGA when he followed the ball pointing at it as it went into the hole.
Oh, that was.
What about, by the way, think about this. I'm sorry, but Tiger comes up, and of course, I feel obliged to yap about him. I think this. First of all, people have talked about it ad nauseum, but the piety of this fake morality about this upset about what Tiger's done and everything. The people who cover him, let's never mind that the people who cover him have been exposed as tomcatting themselves, but the shock, the false sort of dismay about like what there's a professional athlete who cheats on his wife. I never. I mean, what's the requirement to behave in that manner when we all know that's bogus? But now all this story, and by the way, credit to you because it seemed like in the 5 or 10 minutes immediately after his press conference ended last week, or what was that now, 2 weeks ago?
2 Fridays ago.
When it ended, the immediate reaction was like, hey, you know what? Good for Tiger. You know, it took a lot of courage to get up there and do that. Like, somehow this sex addiction thing, this bogus thing that's been manufactured is now it's courageous. I'm coping with my disease as best I can. Like, because you have access and you're taking advantage of it.
Right.
Is like now it was very clever. I'm conflicted about it.
In early December, I remember saying that was his out.
Yeah.
Because all you have to do is just throw the addiction and a rehab stint, and Americans become 50% more forgiving. He has an addiction.
And only
read about actual sex addictions and the level, like how it messes up your life. And
I'm not saying it's completely around.
Yeah, you're having sex with 5-6 people a day. You're watching porn. You lose your job. Like, this is a guy who was the best golfer, for our entire decade. If he had a sex addiction, it would have affected his golf.
It was a matter of, he's on the road a lot, and every time he leaves, he realizes, I'm getting away with this. There are no repercussions, and so of course it accelerated for him. That's the story. But
many athletes, he was able to, he had a network of people who could be like, you're in Vegas this weekend, I'll arrange to send some girls over.
That's right.
They weren't hookers. They're people from acting agencies or modeling agencies, people like that get brought in to party with.
That's right.
Famous
That's
people.
how it goes. The people ask, what's with the entourage? Why do these athletes have that? Because that's their function. It's not, you always hear about the cliche is that these women are hanging around in hotel rooms. I mean, in hotel lobbies and hitting on these guys. That's not the way it goes down. The way it goes down is that their entourage goes up and say, hey, would you like to sit courtside courtesy of blank Laker tonight? Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds great. We're in Dallas for a couple of nights and ex-player from the Lakers would like you to be his guest, and then maybe we can go out for a bite to eat afterwards. What human being would say, yeah, no, I'm not interested in doing it? Of course they'll do that.
I've said this before. If he had a sex addiction, then we have to pull out about 400 other athletes from the major sports who are all stars and come on.
It is with the I brought this up watching football a couple weeks ago, and Kim, I said I don't think it's 97%. I think it's like 99.9%. And Kimmel said, well, Kurt Warner probably isn't tomcatting around. All right, fine. So there, and here's the best evidence of all is when you bring this up. Like, I think all these professional athletes are doing it. Well, AC Green didn't. All right, if you can cite one human being, if that's the exception that proves the rule, then I don't think you're really making much of a point. If there's only one name, you can volunteer for that argument.
Look, it's free market. These guys want to have sex, and there's a million girls that want to have sex with them.
That's right.
It's not rocket science.
Here's
if they go
question.
out, girls want to have sex with them, they pick one, they have sex.
I would be interested to hear your thoughts on this. In our lifetime, setting aside, obviously, grim stuff like 9/11, the biggest news stories of our lives, I think, like Bill Clinton,
Clinton Lewinsky is and OJ, I think, were the two biggest.
And Tiger is now
Tiger
somewhere
was
in there.
on the level of those two.
Well, but it's interesting. I mean, obviously,
Clinton Lewinsky's got to be one. OJ's got to be two.
It's close, though, because Tiger is maybe LeBron gets in the way of that or Kobe or whatever, but Tiger's probably the most recognizable athlete in his prime. OJ, obviously, we're not talking about people losing their lives, but OJ is a washed-up football player at that point.
Yeah, but he was
Tiger Woods.
Hugely popular still. And he was somebody that was on TV and in the Naked Gun movies and was a commercial spokesman.
It was
the best running back in his generation.
I know, it was a humongous thing. But the
equivalent of, I'm trying to think somebody now. Wouldn't be a football player because there are no football players who are as famous as that. I would say it's the equivalent of
Larry Bird. What if Larry Bird?
Maybe like Jordan?
Yeah.
He wasn't as big as Jordan, but I'm saying like on that level of somebody who had retired 10 years before but was still a major public figure.
But it makes me feel like, as big as this Tiger story has been, what now would have to happen to knock it from the front pages? And I was thinking about like the two that I've thought of, setting aside something with the president.
Gay teammates.
Speaking of gay, I think if Angelina Jolie and Jennifer Aniston were caught having an affair,
you're opening it to non-sports.
Whatever.
Non-sports.
I'm trying to think what's the biggest.
And non-murder?
Aniston and Jolie. Yeah, let's leave out the grim stuff.
Right.
Jolie, Aniston are cheating on Brad Pitt with each other. I think forget about sports, for the entertainment rags, the gossip mags.
Explode.
That would be the biggest one of all time. You couldn't beat that. And then
I
blending
think
sports and
anything with
entertainment.
Obama wins trumps anything.
Well, what about if Oprah was breeding her Springer Spaniels for a dogfighting ring? That would be big, too. That would be a pretty big one. That might even
That's a big one.
Top Tiger.
How about Obama has been carrying on like a year-long affair with Kim Kardashian?
Yes, I can.
Can you top that?
That's pretty good. How about, by the way, did you hear Bill Clinton called Tiger to wish him well? Oh, I've been there, buddy.
Keep your head up, Tiger. My issue with that speech was that he had so much
that's
time.
why
we had so much time to prepare it.
But that's why I started to give you credit for was
speech.
that you were the first person I saw out there who condemned it as ridiculous.
Well,
Everybody else was patting him on the back for the first hour or two after that.
Let's say we're in the 11th grade and we're in a speech class. And that's the speech. Somebody's like, all right, so you're coming back and this is the speech you're going to do. Like, the teacher would have ripped that speech apart. They would have been like, you didn't put a personal anecdote on the top. You didn't do, I would have changed the order of this, but there, you were looking up too much. You didn't read it well enough. Like, and what I don't get
is, seemed like you were reading. You took weird pregnant pauses.
Yeah.
Every 3 words.
I would take the PED thing out. That was weird. That has nothing to do with this. Nobody's asking about that.
That was a bizarre
Why
little...
is that in there?
Yes, I have to take this moment of personal shame to attack the media about something that is not germane to this.
It was just a bad speech. It was too long. It was like 15 minutes long. I don't know why he didn't just release a statement. Just release a statement. We get it. You're sorry. You're trying to save your family. We actually feel bad for you. This is almost too much for any human being, no matter how famous or rich you are. Like, you're under too much scrutiny. Just take your time. Come back.
Well, he could have done that, but, also there are plenty of outlets for him to manipulate somebody one-on-one, to manipulate an interview. We'll give you this interview as long as you don't go into these areas. I mean, as though you wouldn't be able to find someone to sit down across from you and ask you basically the questions you want to be asked. Do you think Tiger couldn't figure out a way to make that happen? Instead, that ridiculous reading thing so phony with 3 women, his mother and those other 2 random women in the front row to show that women still like him. Howard Stern did a great thing. Actually broke it down. He said it was like a bar mitzvah speech is exactly how it seemed. And Howard Stern played his own bar mitzvah speech against Tigers. And it was really like, wow, that's eerie how similar it is.
That's great. I also love the hugs for the people in the first row.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
And Noda Begay had no idea about this.
Yeah.
Did you know? No, I had no idea.
Neither did the guy who paid for Rachel Ucatel's Australian trip on his credit card. He's shocked by this whole thing.
So, all right. So something involving Obama. Oprah is somebody who would probably get some headlines. I'm really just not sure what needs to happen at this point that's going to be bigger than that.
I keep coming back to Aniston. I feel like you were barking up the right tree on that one.
Well, she's it.
Just because, you look at that Aniston Pitt Jolie story. Mm-hmm. What are we on? 7 years now of this? 6 years?
Yeah,
and it's just the go-to gossip rag. They just know. It's like, well, we always have this. We don't have a cover this week. Just throw it on again. Americans don't care. It's just a story that never ends. It's like the hamster in the wheel.
I love it. Is right. It's
unbelievable.
It's funny because I just sat down with our pal Carolla on his podcast. Oh, by the way, if you don't mind, I
was going to plug it at the end. You can do it now if you want.
Well, AdamCarolla.com. I sat down with Carolla, but then I'm also starting my own podcast there. So check that out. But I was just talking with him about this. When you go I was in the grocery store a few days ago, and it's always Jolie and Brad Pitt are getting divorced, or Brad Pitt's
It's Mad Libs,
back.
or they're back. They're strong again.
You say, it's the same thing every week, and now it's been shaken up a little bit because John Mayer, who's always connected to Aniston, is now on there with Jessica Simpson for his comments. And I said this.
We don't call her Jessica Simpson anymore.
What do we call her?
Sexual napalm.
I that's exactly the thing.
Or sex nap.
This to me is I said this to Ace, and I'll say it to you now. To me, this is a great example of the contrast between men and women. Jessica Simpson is outraged by what John Mayer said.
Yeah.
How dare you say $10,000 to be with you again? Like, she just came along and she made me not care about anything else in the world. And Jessica Simpson's reaction to that is, how dare you talk that way about me? I would like to say for the record, if there are any women out there who would like to go on record as referring to Dameshek as sexual napalm, and here, the problem with Dave Dameshek? Too good between the sheets. Too good. He makes me want to not do anything else but be with him. I want to give him tens of thousands of dollars for just one more shot with him. Please have at that if you want to. What gives with that? This ridiculous that is offensive.
You made me think of I was reading the Warren Beatty biography. Warren Beatty.
Who's Warren Beatty?
Warren Beatty. I'm sorry, it's a brain fart. And he's a Lothario, obviously. Mm-hmm. But his first major celebrity girlfriend was Joan Collins, who they interviewed.
Is that right?
Still alive, yeah. And they had this torrid affair. And in the she's talking about it. She's like, it would be 6-7 times a day. Like, it got to the point where I just couldn't even function. I was so worn out. Like, he just destroyed me. This whole thing. I'm like, whoa, Lord. Like, but if the roles were reversed, as you said, it would be like, oh, what a whore.
Thing. Yeah. I don't want, and of course, it's not my dream for my daughter to be referred to in that manner, and maybe that's where it comes in. But still, listen, again, women of the world, or the two women that I've ever I know in the world in that manner.
Well, I remember when the women started multiplying, and I was talking to Lewis, our friend who's in PR, and I was saying, like, at some point we need one of these girls to come out and talk about, like, how endowed Tiger was, or what an amazing lover he was, or one of those. Like, if you're talking about a difference between 9 women versus 10 or 15 versus 16, don't you plant the one who's like, oh my God, this guy's a machine. I mean, let's be honest. There's never been a sexual force, whatever. And like 2 days later, one of the ones came out with a glowing.
Isn't that,
tribute
I'll tell you.
I was thinking like, I wonder if they paid her. Because I remember, like, with the Clinton one of the things that hurt the most in the whole thing for him was that Lewinsky, described his equipment.
Right.
Not the most flattering description. Not a completely unflattering description. But yet, I don't know. Not something you'd want really on Craigslist if you were advertising your wares.
That's right.
I always felt bad for him. And it's like, not only did he screw this up, but now it's out, his equipment.
Well, that's
too bad.
That's it.
Sorry, Mr. President.
That's exactly right. This is a part of the calculation now. If you're going to be a celebrity and you're going to start throwing it around, then you have to be ready for someone to attack you. One of these women, a jilted woman, to come out and say, like, listen, I saw Bill Simmons downstairs.
I don't want to break the illusion, but the word mosquito bite comes to mind, like something just biting. You're right. You made me think of The Bachelor for some reason.
Oh yeah, I've had a reality TV renaissance. I've really sort of avoided it for a couple of years, but I'm watching my first Survivor season since the first season.
Oh, and it's a beautiful one.
It really is really entertaining. I'm enjoying. And The Bachelor. I'm also enjoying Dr. Drew's Celebrity Rehab.
Yep.
I haven't watched that before. That's great. But
Real World DC, you're in or out?
I caught my first 10 minutes of it.
We had attempted murder last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty. So that's been good. But this Bachelor, I'm really. This guy is clearly, if there's ever any question again, any guy could go on that show and be and apparently come off as the coolest guy, the most appealing man on the face of the earth because of the circumstance. Because that guy is the biggest loser I can possibly imagine.
Carrie, my wife, compares him to Tom Cruise.
That's
in
how, good, yeah.
In the way he courts women is cruisian, where it's like, very intense and there's something unnatural about it. And like, I took her out and I flew her in a plane and we had a moment up there. And it's not like,
I feel like she's here for the right reasons. That's the constant
very
thing.
Intense. His response to when like Chris Harrison confronted him about, there's a girl she's having an affair with the producer. His response reminded me of like a Cruise response. Like, he wasn't like, that whore, get her off the show. It was more like, oh, well, that's extremely distressing, Chris.
I want to be there when you tell the other women.
I'd like to be in the room.
He is. This guy is a buffoon cheeseball guy.
It's awesome, but that's how the show works. When the guy is, it doesn't work if it's a normal guy.
I'm falling for this woman.
Falling for three women.
I think she's here. That must go over gangbusters too. I'm falling for all four of you. Oh, terrific.
Jacoby and I did a reality pod, and we were talking about my favorite show, which is always when there's three women left and they get the overnight room key.
Yeah.
And it's implied to each woman, like, listen, if you want to win this thing, you better show this guy time.
He's such a
no second base in the hospitality suite.
He's such a nerd with it. Even that, he gives it to him. He's like, Chris Harrison gave me something. So Chris Harrison is now on some level involved in this menage a trois. Now, like, Chris Harrison wanted you to have this. He'll be joining us, and he's, I'm really excited about this as he gives it to him. Oh, he said who
says that?
And that Vienna. That's all I need to know, that there's something wrong with that guy. That's one of the two women that he's wound up. So he's wound up with this prudish woman who dances for him. If you caught that one, where she does the ballet dance, which I would either have to laugh out loud or get up and walk out of the room and say, "Oh, listen, I can't be around that woman anymore. There's something weird about her."
Yeah.
And then this Vienna, who is just, sort of masculine, and
former Hooters waitress.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And in the meantime, the one who he let go, the Allie, the San Francisco.
She's the best one.
She's dynamite, right?
I was talking about this with either Jacoby or Corolla. I can't remember which one, but saying how, maybe it was Jacoby, saying that the problem with these shows is when they get, it's, these women, what are they? But then when it gets to the final four, I think these guys realize, like, I'm not going to marry. I mean, these girls came on a reality show. I'm not actually going to marry these girls. So, like, with Vienna, he's like, I think I want to go a couple laps with that one. Just a couple. I'm going to test drive that car for a couple weeks, and then I'll dump her after the final Rose show. And then I'll use my newfound celebrity to actually find my wife.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's probably
a good game plan if you're the Bachelor.
Well, he's not going to he's not going to wind up with that Vienna for the rest of his life. And then the other one, you just can feel by listening to her for 2 minutes that she's too prudish. He's not going to wind up marrying her.
Well, do you feel like Chris Harrison had a moral obligation to tell him about the Hooters waitress divorce background?
I like that.
Does he, as the host, does he have a moral obligation to step in and be like, just so you know?
I like Chris Harrison, the way he steps up. He confronts it like, you entered into an inappropriate relationship. Did you see him get choked up? That's one of the great moments in reality.
Well, he's had a few ones this year.
Yeah.
Because when they brought all the girls back and that girl said the whole, well, that's why you were hitting on the guy's wife in New Zealand. And Chris Harrison did the whole, I'm not going to dignify that.
And Chris Harrison also... to me, what that show needs, and it is funny the melodrama that Chris Harrison creates, but that show would be way better with a wiseacre as the host. I think it would be funny to be like, listen, that one, just talking like a guy would talk to you if you were trying to pick among these women, instead of this guy who's more or less asexual, and what's
He's
really
like, hey,
weird
Vienna, I mean, she's pretty stacked up top. Huh? Like, it doesn't say any of that stuff.
The best is when it's the Bachelorette and she's choosing among men, because it's one thing when Harrison says to the guy like, oh, you have 6 beautiful ladies to choose from, but he says to the Bachelorette all the time, like, I wouldn't want to be in your seat because you have 4 studly guys. You have 4 really attractive guys.
Yeah.
He doesn't say studly, but he basically is he's feeling their pain. Like, if I were you, I don't know which guy I would let go.
I read this article about Chris Harrison that I forwarded Jimmy about, it was leading up to the season. Chris Harrison does this big interview and announces that his plan is to now, he wants to show people that eventually he can do more than just The Bachelor. He's thinking bigger. He doesn't want to be pigeonholed with just this Bachelor host thing. I'm like, are you kidding me? You haven't had name one moment you've had, Chris Harrison, that made anybody think, this guy could host a radio show.
Yeah,
or this guy could.
I saw him
like Probst. I can see Probst. You're like, huh.
Yeah,
this guy's the key to the show.
Yeah,
like,
he's cool. He does some funny stuff.
This guy could do other things. Chris Harrison, I've never felt that way ever at any point.
Chris Harrison's weirdest moment, though, is each week when he says who won the competition. I'm still not up to speed on all the Survivor terminology, but when you win the idol, the team that wins the thing, he does this two-handed move. Sort of
Probst
like,
you're talking about?
Yeah, Probst.
Yeah.
He does sort of this Australian rules football
Winner!
thing. Winner! Yeah, that's right. And he puts like two fingers in the air. Like, is that necessary?
It's his move.
I guess you're more or less the official there, but you don't need to make an official gesture like a field goal was just made. But yeah, he does that one. But Harrison, the shocker so far for me is I saw him interviewed recently, and he made reference to like, what I love about The Bachelor is it's a competition because my background is in sports broadcasting. What? What sports were you broadcasting? What market were you in?
Joe Bean, can you Google what Chris Harrison's sports broadcasting background? I would love to know what that. He probably did minor league hockey for a year. And I was doing the I don't know, whatever the Kansas City minor league hockey for a year. I knew.
So if you did have to choose one of these two girls, which would you choose? Vienna. I mean, she is on every line. She's on.
I told you my game plan.
Well, you have to take one or the other, but you have to now do.
I go Vienna for a couple weeks, but dump her before the final show and just say I didn't realize it. We went too fast.
Well, that's why he had the perfect out with this.
But when Vienna showed up with the 90, though, when we were down to 3, when we were down to everybody's got to knock boots with the Bachelor.
But she's not attractive, though.
I know, but the fact that she brought her own 90 that was an announcement. It's going to be at the very least a fun couple weeks for Jake the Bachelor. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're going to like going a couple rounds.
Yeah.
It might not end well, but those rounds will be fun. The
model had self-esteem issues that made her unappealing. Yeah, it was. I think he just kicked too many girls.
Gia, the model?
Gia, yeah.
She'd had some work done.
I thought so.
It's a little weird when you have somebody who's in their mid-20s who's had significant work done.
And when they were dancing, did you see when they were dancing?
I knew he was off when early on he let this girl go who was a brunette who wouldn't kiss him.
Yeah.
She was the best looking one.
Was foxy,
and he's like, I don't like this whole head game, not kissing. I'm going to get rid of her.
I don't know if she's here for the right reasons.
Yeah, you don't get rid of the best one. How about that idea?
And what about the fox?
Keep the best looking one till the final 5.
Yeah, and by the way, you're right. If you're the Bachelor and Chris Harrison tells you she entered into an inappropriate relationship and we're going to have her leave the show, if you're a regular guy, you'd be like, listen, I don't care. No, I want her to stay. So what?
She's one of the best 2 ones. You're killing me.
Listen, we all make mistakes. Listen, she stays in my book. We really think it's best if she entered because she entered. Listen, lighten up, Harrison. If we've learned anything about her, you're not going to have to write the little note to her to have her share the room with me. I think we understand that much about her. And I also like with The Bachelor too that the thing that the women like best about the guy is that how romantic the date was. I've never gotten to take a helicopter ride through the bay like that, and we got to eat in the middle of this whatever. The Bachelor didn't have anything to do with putting that together, you understand. The producers of the show did. He just showed up like you did, too. But somehow it's attributed to him. I've never felt so special. He really was wonderful, the date that he put together. He had nothing to do with putting it together.
There's a cultural component. Or not, I shouldn't say cultural. I don't know, some sort of personality component to this, that says something about Americans. I don't know what it is about that these girls could fall in love with this guy this quickly.
Yeah, well,
and it really doesn't matter if he's funny or if he's good looking or if he's tall or what he does for a living. It's just they're immediately head over heels for him.
Yeah, I don't know if it's it's the self-entitlement of our society. I mean, actually, I think a great example of the hubris of the average American is the Tiger Woods thing. Is when asked, guys who are sports fans are asked, heterosexual guys, what do you expect to hear out of Tiger? Well, I'm looking to hear an apology from. I want to hear a sincere apology from Tiger. What does Tiger Woods owe you an apology for? Do you feel that's owed to you?
But apparently Tiger felt that way too because he did the whole believe in me. My goal is I want you to believe in me again. It's like
would that happen in France? Would that happen in Europe?
Just take golf balls.
so
I don't look for everything other than that. I just get excited when it's the fourth round.
That's Commissioner Goodell does that too.
And you're up 2 strokes, and I want to see if you're going to win or not. That's our relationship, Tiger.
It is the Michael Vick thing was a great thing. Commissioner Goodell, like this thing about discussing apologies and what you need to hear, and I want to look him in the eyes and I want to see how contrite he is. What are you, Commissioner Goodell? Are you a psychiatrist of some sort that you're going to gauge the sincerity of Michael Vick's apology?
Yeah.
You know, then the Eagles are obliged to say he's going to have to be involved in community service, and if he only does once, that's going to be a problem for the Philadelphia Eagles organization. This whole show that's put on for that any rational human being would never buy, but they all have to be a part of it, including Michael Vick, including Tiger Woods, all the commissioners of these leagues, the people interviewing them, and now even the fans buy it too because they now are under the assumption that they're owed the apology as well. It's so absurd.
Last thing, because we didn't talk movies at all. I wasn't feeling well. I've been sick for a while, and I woke up this weekend like 2:30 in the morning, couldn't fall back asleep, came downstairs. Broken Arrow was just coming on.
Oh. Travolta. That's where he had his renaissance with Pulp Fiction. Of course, he does some stuff.
The renaissance
Broken Arrow is where he starts to go down.
Yeah, that led to these roles. And, I tweeted this. I really hard-pressed to find a worse performance by a major actor in a movie. It's now... I was totally into it. I couldn't sleep. I watched the whole movie. I was like, I'm exhausted, but I can't get enough of how bad Travolta is in this movie. He's smoking the whole time, but it's like when those actors smoke and they can't. Yeah. The cigarette's not right in their mouth, and you could tell the smoke bothers them, but they're supposed to be chain smoking. He's got Howie Long as his henchman.
Yeah,
he's kidnapping these 2 nuclear weapons or whatever.
And that movie is terrible in general. We've had the discussion about what movies need to be remade so that you recast the female lead role.
That's one. The girl from Papa the Volume. Yeah, that is not strong in that one.
This is who Slater's going for?
Yes, I'm Slater. Yeah, it starts out with this boxing match with Travolta and Slater. They're boxing without headgear. And Travolta is just like killing him. He's just punch after punch, flush in the face, and then they go in the locker room after Slater doesn't have a mark on him. No swelling at all.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I got to tell you, this has been a bad year for movies. I have no idea what should win the Academy Award. Because we had the second kid, and you told me that before the boy was born, little Jean-Claude Van Dameshek. You said one kid manageable because you can go zone. You got to go man to man with 2 kids, and it really consumed your life. We have no chance to see movies.
You can't, it's tough to get to the theater. Well, it's because you get a babysitter and you're spending however $50-$60 to go to dinner and a movie.
Yeah. So I didn't see any, but my last question for you quickly is, just because I feel like there will be some percentage of people.
How did we get off Broken Arrow that fast?
I just wanted to ask you one question quickly. This has to be put on the record, and then we'll go back to Broken Arrow. I will be demonized by some people for saying I wanted to see Crosby beat the Americans.
Yeah.
Larry Bird is Canadian, and he's playing the gold medal game against the U.S.
I would have rooted for Bird.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I see it.
Feel vindicated.
I would have felt bad about it.
Right.
My issue with you is that Crosby I don't think should be on that level for you. I think it's a reach.
What does that mean?
I just think
he's only 22?
Well, Bird for me was somebody that I grew up with who was like, not only my favorite player, but like a boy that had heroic qualities to me. You're a guy in your late 30s now with kids. Like Crosby can't possibly mean that much like what Lemieux meant to you. He's just now your favorite guy on your team.
Well, to be honest, I wasn't as emotionally invested. So if that makes you feel better, all right. I mean, right. I thought it was great, and I think it now sets Crosby up for more in his career.
The bigger issue is that we're just never going to feel that attached to an American hockey team. Like if they were playing a bunch of college kids who weren't in the NHL yet, it was this ragtag group of and they had fought their way Hoosier style to the finals, and I think you're rooting for that team over Crosby.
Yeah, definitely.
You're not. Basically, This was a team of NHL players that you get to see all the time, who were all born in this country, who were thrown together for 2 weeks, and Sid the Kid trumped that for you.
And by the way, I think if the games were played in Chicago instead of Vancouver, I think I would have been rooting USA. I think the location made it that there was all this pressure on Crosby to deliver. For him to do it in that moment made it,
Well, here's something for you to chew on, because Broken Arrow. I was thinking, that's really the golden era of bad action movies. 1995 to 1998, you have Broken Arrow, you have The Rock, you have Con Air, you have, actually maybe you could argue Speed started this whole thing. Although Speed was entertaining, it's a horrible movie if you rewatch it. It's just so many plot holes.
Stone Cold.
You have
what
Stone
was that?
Cold.
What was
I think that was a little earlier. Travolta had two. Travolta had Face Off. Another.
We've broken that.
All
one
these
down.
movies are entertaining and yet horrific at the same time, and movies that just aren't made anymore. I think you watch a movie like 12 Rounds now that tries to aspire to that, but you're in on the joke now. In 95, Travolta wasn't in on the joke. He actually thought here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk like this for my character through clenched teeth, and I'll have a cigarette hanging out of my mouth, and nobody will mock me at all.
It's always
they didn't know.
Somebody does a good job of a bad guy like Dennis Hopper in Speed is pretty good, but he's over the top, and so now it means everybody should be over the top as the bad guy. I think
Jack Nicholson started it. When he got acclaim for the Joker, that set off the whole era.
You're right. That's exactly
that. You can steal the movie as the bad guy.
Gary Oldham has has some really ridiculous ones, like Fifth Element. He's ridiculous with his big Southern accent kind of thing. If you remember that.
But if you put when did Point Break come out?
Point Break was 91.
I'm going to put that 95 to 98 stretch against anything for bad.
This is going to require some research.
You're going to have to research
work to do.
Maybe for the next podcast we can discuss, or maybe I'll come on your podcast and we can discuss.
And then maybe we'll set up podiums and we'll do the 66.99 argument. We have a lot of things to do.
I don't know if that's getting huge ratings. I don't know if America's on the edge of the seat.
Hockey's huge now, man. Didn't you hear the news?
All right, Dave Dameshek, CorollaRadio.com. Your new podcast starting. Do you have a name for it?
Well, that's actually, you can go on there and vote. I thought, because I'm doing it with my chum David Feeney, and so it's two guys named Dave, so I thought Daves of Thunder would be great. You can't beat that, but he didn't like that, so I don't know yet. We're trying to decide what to call it. What I like is actually...
I'm being electroshocked right now.
What does that mean?
I had a really sarcastic comment I was going to make. No, it wasn't about you. It was about... Let's just move on.
All right. I would say that the reason I want to do this podcast, it's for pleasure's sake. I like flapping my gums, and so that's why I'm doing it. And I realize, who does that if you're me? I'm a nobody doing this, and I realize, you know who does stuff like this are people who've achieved a great deal in show business. Then they do their so-called vanity projects. I'm just going to skip over having some big success.
Just go right to the vanity?
Yeah.
I like it.
The Dave Dameshek vanity project is kind of good. I might go with that.
Excellent.
So we're deciding what to
That's
what
excellent.
to call it.
Well, good luck.
Thanks
We'll be
so
listening
much.
to it. It's going to be once a week?
Once a week, yes.
All right.
A pleasure to see you as always.
Hey, before we go, I got some info for you guys.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear it.
Oh.
So Chris Harrison, weekend sports anchor and sports reporter at the local CBS affiliate in Oklahoma City from 93 to 97.
Perfect. Weekend anchor.
4 years, though. That's a legitimate job, I guess.
And then he also went to work for some probably now defunct horse racing channel. But that was a brief stop for him on his way to Bachelor stardom.
So 4 years weekend sports anchor.
Yeah. Also, you mentioned Slovenia.
Yeah.
It is a real country.
Okay, good.
And they won 3 medals in the Olympics. No hockey team, though.
Good for you.
Was Slovakia a country?
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a Slovenia and a Slovakia?
Right. Remember Czechoslovakia split into...
Yeah, I got it.
Don't show people up, Meade. You have a computer in front of you. You can hi-hat us now that you can look that up.
Because when we had that exchange, I felt like Slovenia and Slovakia were both right, but it felt like we should be arguing about it.
How embarrassing. Two grown men don't know the names of countries on the face of the earth.
Dave Dameshek, CorollaRadio.com. Thanks for stopping by.
So I get to sign off.
Whoa.
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Podcenter at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.
To thank you for making Subway footlongs famous. Now enjoy any regular footlong as a $5 footlong. That's right, any, including your favorites like the savory chicken, bacon, and ranch. Any Subway regular footlong is just $5. Hurry in.